Hello, I am Connor Nielsen
And I am Spencer Nielsen.
of CS Reviews. And you know what I really love? A good movie. And I am completely aware that we are about 2 weeks late on this. The way this works was Fifty Shades of Grey and Kingsman: The Secret Service were released on February 13th, and that was I tried watching both these movies, but both of the movies were sold out all weekend long, so we couldn't get around to it until last weekend, and then I don't even know why didn't we record last week?
I believe you were extremely busy. I was extremely busy.
Yeah, it's getting near the end of the term, so we're getting a little really busy, um, and then so now we actually watched the movies from this last week. So from February 28th, we saw Focus and I saw Lazarus Effect. And so we're going to be reviewing those tomorrow. So Tuesday, today's Monday, tomorrow Tuesday is when we're going to review those movies. And then so for last week's movies, which were McFarland USA, The Duff, and Hot Tub Time Machine 2, we're just not going to review them. We're just, who really cares about any of them? I heard McFarland USA was pretty good, and I heard The Duff was all right, but we're just not going to review them. So we're going to talk about Kingsman and 50 Shades, and then tomorrow we're going to be talking about uh, Lazarus Effect and Focus. So that's the way it's working out. So we highly, highly, highly apologize for getting to you very late, but we're going to be back on track tomorrow.
Yep, I second that.
Alrighty. So let's get started. And Spencer, what was the first movie we saw?
The first movie we saw was Fifty Shades of Grey, the adaptation of the worldwide best-selling erotic novel about a young girl named Anastasia Steele who's graduating from Washington State University who gets in a little bit of a fling with this 20-something-year-old bachelor named Christian Grey. Little does she know, he's into a little bit more wilder side of the sex life. And romance ensues. Everyone knows about 50 Shades of Grey.
Spencer,
Yes, Connor.
what is your take on 50 Shades of Grey?
All right, so 50 Shades of Grey. Look, I'm a guy. I am. Connor, you're a guy.
I am.
Yep. So let's just put the cards on the table. I'm a guy. Sex is hot. It is. I mean, do you attest to that, Connor?
Yes, there's a reason why sex sells.
Yep. Um, I am very much swayed by attractive women at this young age that I am, and sex is, it's a little thing in the back of your head that, yeah, it's it's attractive. Girls are pretty, and that's the main selling piece of this movie. All that this movie has going for it is, hey, there's sex in this movie, guaranteed. So okay, I'm not really looking forward to this movie. I haven't heard anything good about the source material. I haven't heard a lot of good things about the movie. And the only thing that is really selling for this movie is sex. So sex sells very close to home in this movie-going experience. So that means the only draw for this movie is titillation. And even on that level, this movie fails, and on every single other element. I absolutely hated 50 Shades of Grey, and I know, coming from a guy, that sounds extremely normal and, oh, well, he's a guy, what do you expect? But I think this movie is absolutely terrible. It had me apologizing to Black Hat. I hated this movie so much. Connor, what did you think of it in a nutshell?
Spencer, your whole titillation thing, first off, I said that. Make sure. You've been saying that quite a bit now. I said that, right?
You said that, yes. You said
Good.
that.
Right. So the thing is, when people, so I get us into movies for free. I work at a movie theater. But I can't imagine the people who paid full price for this. Um, and the way it works, like, so imagine you pay your $10 to go and see the movie, and there's like that itch that needs to be scratched of, that little that might get steamy and naughty and everything. But about 10 or so minutes in, or 20 minutes in, when that itch is scratched, you need to have something more to offer than just titillation. There just needs to be, and there isn't. That's the only thing it has to offer. Um, and so outside of that, I mean, it gets boring. It's very dull, and so I mean, it's based off of fan fiction, and it's obvious. It is obviously it's fantasy. It's just someone's sexual fantasy on screen, and I felt like I was just watching someone else's fantasy, and that's all it really was.
Yeah, I at this point it's almost completely arbitrary even acknowledging the fact that it was originally Twilight fan fiction. Everyone likes to point that out, but it's to me people when people present it as a fun fact, like did you know it was based off of Twilight fan fiction? Well, no, duh. Just watching this movie, I'm sitting there going, the movie acts like it expects me to know who these characters are, as if I know that they're like, say, Edward and Bella, and then there's this half, slightly, this ethnic enough best friend that likes the main girl. It is so obviously a fan fiction that it expects me to know these characters, like, and then I'm supposed to be invested in, kind of like, ooh, I'm kind of in on it, and I'm not. I want to, at the very least, characters. I want some kind of chemistry. Dear goodness, this dialogue. Do you want to go into this dialogue, Connor?
So the dialogue of this movie is wildly inconsistent. Because sometimes it's like, "Hello there, well, hello there," like they're just two attractive people just so happening to say the right things at each other, and it's so hubba hubba. And other times it's, "Oh, poor awkward me," but I like it anyways. And like, just look at me, I am. And so, look, really, it's the problem about talking about this is everything that can be said about it has already like happened. Like everyone's already said everything, and like Jamie Dornan as Mr. Grey, it's like this guy isn't interesting at all. He's very boring. I mean, Spencer, can you tell me one thing about this guy? And I get it, the whole like crux of his character is that you don't know his past. He's hiding stuff. But I mean, what does he like to do? And they keep saying like he's a millionaire, businessman, CEO, and like how? He just kind of he spends sure spends all he's like I exercise control my whole life. I stick to a schedule, and then he just like follows her around and just buys her stuff and just you know what I mean? He just so happens to be like a ghost who appears. He's like, "Hello there. How did you get here?" It's like, "Oh, because I'm a millionaire. That I stick to a very tight schedule that includes following you around." Whatever.
And buying you whatever you want. Okay.
Right.
First off, I know this term gets abused a lot, and we are offenders of this abuse. But everyone in this movie is an unlikable jerk. Everyone. There's the main character who is a she's a gold digger. There's a line where she's like, I want more from you, Christian. He goes, okay, and then a couple scenes later, he buys her some kind of private jet plane, and she's like, this is more. Yeah, it's more money. Excuse me, what? Mr. Gray is obviously like he's a jerk because he has no personal connection with people, but that's expected. But everyone, even down to the nice guy best friend, who is the most obvious, I'm a nice guy kind of person. All we get to know about this guy is, oh, well, he's her best friend, I guess, and then later he intentionally gets her drunk to try to swoop in. This is really kind of a creepy movie.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I really had like a lot of stuff bugged me in here. But again, like the main character, like tell me something about her. The thing is, like, there's like a couple moments and like there's it's a really bad feeling you get when you're watching a movie and you realize, oh, this is all there is to this movie. And I had that moment about 25 minutes into a 2-hour movie. I was like,
Oh my
oh, this is all there is to this movie. And then the movie kept going and kept going, and then like I went from, oh, this is all there is, kind of boredom, and it really started to make me angry. And I turned to you like towards the end of this movie, and I said, I've just about had enough with this, and it really started to get under my skin and make me angry, because it's just about the sex. That's all it's about. I mean, what happened was that when I hear the movie, they're like, oh, there's sex in it, and then I'm thinking like, okay, well, what else is in there? I mean, that's the gimmick, but substance. Like when you think like Birdman, just won Best Picture, it's like, yeah, the gimmick is it's one long take,
Michael
but
Keaton
there's
plays
substance.
himself.
Yeah, Michael Keaton plays himself, but there's substance there. Boyhood, they filmed it over 12 years. It took 12 years to make, but there's substance there. It's not just about the gimmick. Um, Birdman isn't just about its gimmick. This one is just about the gimmick. When they're not having, they're talking about it. And they're just talking about what they're going to do next time. And then, they're discussing the ins and outs of their, sexual relationship. And it's just this all it's about. I'm like, oh my gosh, can this just be over? It's tedious. It goes on forever. It's boring. And when we do get there, another scene of them, of naked people just like standing around. And there's more people. I think, here's another scene where she comes in and they're, another like never-ending, sex scenes, and then just like going on. Like, please, can I just have something to think or feel about? Like, please, give me something. And then, I think what ultimately put this movie over the edge is they took a Rolling Stone song, "Beast of Burden," my favorite Rolling Stone song, and when they used that, I went, nope, I'm done.
Okay.
Sorry, movie, I'm done.
Yeah, okay. Just to fully encapsulate how boring this movie is, um, what's her name? Dakota Johnson, right? She's the lead actress.
Yes.
Okay, so you have Dakota Johnson. She's an attractive young lady. So there's a scene in which Dakota Johnson, attractive young lady, is only wearing a button-up. She's dancing to a Rolling Stones song, "Beast of Burden," and she's making pancakes. And my reaction to this is, I
So
mean,
let's get straight. You find attractive women. You like that, right?
yes, I do.
You like Rolling Stones.
I do.
You like pancakes.
I love pancakes.
And usually when you put all these together, you'd expect something good, right?
Yeah, I would expect that instead of me checking my watch every like so often. And seriously, you can feel the ticking in this movie. It's just it's grating.
And like what happened was, I think ultimately why the sex isn't good is because these people don't have chemistry. They're not directed. The actors don't really have that much to going on, and ultimately the characters don't have very much going on. And like Dakota Johnson, like I think I've only seen her in the Jump Street movies where she has a very small role, and she has really good, personality. Good
She has a
comedic timing,
vibrance.
vibrance. Yeah, exactly. And so in this movie, she just has to play this, oh, this is more character. And I'm just so, like, done with her. And then this guy's boring. He's just like, I'm a dominant man. And so these people aren't interesting, and they're not really interested in each other outside of physical attraction. And they have no chemistry, and so there's no, like, sense of, like, there's no sense of, like, there's no steam, so to speak. It's
Yeah,
just
but even more so than there being no connection, there's almost an anti-connection because of how uncomfortable the movie is. Okay, look,
how uncomfortable she is.
but on how uncomfortable she is, and you can almost see oh gosh, who plays Mr. Gray?
Jamie
Jamie.
Dornan.
Yeah, you can tell that he's not fully comfortable, like he's not in the character of this kind of person because, as you said, his career up until now was under Mr. Underwear model.
Yep.
Yeah, so uh, there's there's this scene where So a lot of the sex scenes, by the way, is it's not even like sex so much as it is just a naked person whipping another naked person, and it's extremely uncomfortable. You actually had to like g- set up mental barriers to make yourself try to enjoy this, right?
Okay, so what happened was like as I've said, like there's only so bad a movie can get, and like when it gets that bad, it's like just a matter of how long a movie can go on for me to hate it as long. So on that basis, I do think Black Hat is worse than this movie. That movie is just like you're a juice box and it's sucking everything out of you, and you're just like, "Ah." um, but I'm sorry, what did you ask? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So like I was watching this movie and it was like I was so bored. I was like it was like agonizing, like end, end. And so I eventually like just kind of like set up some sort of like internal like mental block in my head where I just imagined Tommy Wiseau, The Room. Oh hi Mark, Tommy Wiseau, like just as Mr. Gray. So there's like the part where he's whipping her and everything. So I just imagine like in the way like it's made is like it feels like The Room, where it's a bunch of like cross fading, and I just imagine,
Droning music.
and he's going, "Oh, hey Anna, I don't make love." so,
So,
um, so there's also another stuff I wanted to talk about where this movie is very like it's the most like pandering to women like movie I could think of, where it's like, and that's why when I talk about like it feels like a fantasy, like, it's so obviously a fantasy where it's like, oh, you're just Mrs. Normal, oh jeez, and then there's Mr. Perfect, rich, handsome, billionaire. I'm powerful, handsome, and I've got the good looks and I got the money, but I'm paying attention to you. And then, you know, he gets him stuff and he's kind of a bad boy, but she's changing him, and it's and then I think it's like the most panders to women thing ever. And then someone will say, well, what about panders to men? Oh, I hated Transformers like 4. That is the most like panders to men movie. It's like I hate it when movies just pander to their audience and their sole purpose is like, okay, let's have a checklist. Like, men like explosion, women like the bad boy that they can change. Check, 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 check. Now make a movie with all this stuff in it. They'll like it, right?
well, aside, yep, I agree with you.
All right.
What really bugs me, why I think this is worse than Black Hat, is the structure of the script. Nothing happens in this movie. I'm just saying, nothing happens. Boy meets girl, or man like controls himself into a woman's life, and then they argue about whether or not they should be in a relationship. And that honestly sounds like more than what's actually happening. At the end, it's like I remember it was, you went, I cannot take this, and I checked my watch. I'm like, there's only a half an hour left, and nothing has happened. What? And then the ending happens so abruptly. I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels like the first act in a story, and then the final line, like the final scene, is a total groaner. There's like this sense of role reversal, and he's like, Anastasia, Christian, fade to black.
So, um, no. Say something. I'm trying to remember.
Okay, well, the thing is, at least Black Hat, at least Black Hat had a three-act structure.
What 3x structure? Like it had 3 pictures of droning.
Well, yeah, Connor. Beginning, they get conflict happens, and they get Chris Hemsworth out of jail. They chase bad guy. They get Chris Hemsworth out of jail. They chase bad guy. They kill bad guy. There's three acts in there.
Um, also, oh, I wanted to say, Mr. Gray has probably the funniest smile I've ever seen in my life. But I'll see if I can recreate it. I think that was pretty good.
That was pretty great. But
All
yeah,
right.
wrapping this all up. Any final thoughts on 50 Shades of Grey?
I don't. I'm going to give this movie a 1.5. Um, at least it wasn't Black Hat.
Well, I'm going to give this movie a 1. I would give it anything lower if I could. I hated this movie so much. This is down there with I Frankenstein. This is worse than Black Hat. I would. Uh, then again, that's not. There, I'm splitting hairs here, but I would say it's just that much worse than Black Hat. 1 out of 10 for me. Terrible.
Okay. Now switching gears, let's go into Kingsman: The Secret Service, directed by Matthew Vaughn and starring Colin Firth, Taron Egerton, uh, and Samuel L. Jackson. Spencer, what did you think? No, tell us about Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Kingsman: The Secret Service depicts Eggsy, a young, kind of rowdy English youth, as he gets into troubles with local gangs and the police until he is offered a get out of jail free card, almost quite literally, in form of a pennant that he received from a gentleman when he was a boy, because his father was a secret agent. And now he is coming at an age where he must become a Kingsman, a member of this underground secret service. And so he is trained by Colin Firth to become the next agent of the service. At the same time, some megalomaniac, internet-famed billionaire, uh, played by Samuel L. Jackson, his last name is Valentine, I know that much, and he wants to kill everyone on the earth.
All right.
And
Spencer, what
they
did you
must
think?
stop him. Sorry. And they must stop him.
What, what did you think of Kingsman: The Secret Service?
Man, what a change of gears here. This movie is unboring. It's it's tastefully offensive, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. Oh my goodness. I was actually very much surprised by this movie. I had a blast with it. It has charisma. All the actors have chemistry. The dialogue is witty and funny. This is like the anti uh, 50 Shades of Grey. It was kind of funny that they came out in the same weekend. What did you think of it?
Yeah, this movie. I'm so glad I saw this because to describe this movie, it's like the tone, anyways. It kind of takes that suave, kind of relaxed um, tone of like a 1960s James Bond movie, like Sean Connery era, and meshes it with like the insanity, hyper violent, super stylized Mark Millar comic book style that we saw in like not the first Kick Arse movie, uh, and that was also directed by Matthew Vaughn, which was based off of a comic book also written by Mark Millar. But with this one, you're like, how can those two tones mesh very well? They do surprisingly well.
And I
Um,
think they mesh extremely well together is because the 60s, 70s Bond movies, it was all classy, suave, sexy, like, ooh, I'm James Bond, English gentleman, uh, secret agent, but at the same time it was very, but it was also risque, and it was very violent for its time. And this takes that and kind of sets it in the context of today, and it ramps it up to 11 as our culture has. So everyone is over the top classy and winking and suave, and then the violence is over the top hyper violence. And that's why I think it works perfectly.
and it also Matthew Vaughn has a vision, and it really comes to life here.
I know when I saw the trailer, I'm like, it just doesn't look that. It looks kind of TV like. I mean, I don't see why. And then when you see the special effects, they're not like they're good, but then and sometimes they look kind of cheap, and then you're like, oh, like I think that's kind of the point. It adds a charm to it.
It does. There's like a sequence at the end um, that doesn't look real in the slightest, but I was grinning ear to ear, and everyone was just laughing, having a good time. Every people who've seen the movie know what I'm talking about. But the thing about the movie that really works is it's kind of like turn your brain off, have a good time, boom, 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 action stuff. But it has really interesting and likable characters. This Taron, is that his name? Taron Egerton?
I believe so.
He is really good in this
I
movie.
really want to see what this kid does next.
He's so good, and he stands up next to Academy Award winner Colin Firth. And then Mark Strong's in this movie, and he's a lot of fun. And then Michael Caine is sort of fun as an extended cameo. And then, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is entertaining. Like it's just he has his little lisp and everything, but it's entertaining. And it's fun, and it has like this cohesive style that it all kind of built towards. It has like this weird, crazy, manic, just thing going on, but it's all cohesive, and it like has a united vision that makes it all kind of come together very well. I mean, there's Mark Hamill's in it for a second. Then, but at the same time, it actually has some sort of intelligence to it. Like it has like a little bit of like some not like a little bit of like something to say regarding technology.
Yeah, and I also think there's also meta commentary on the genre. There's a whole monologue about where it starts off as banter between Colin Firth and Samuel L. Jackson about, well, my favorites, like they have a conversation early on in the picture about like superhero movies. Like, oh well, this isn't one of those. What?
Spy movies.
Yeah, but spy movies.
They have a conversation
About Bond movies, right? And they say, oh, well, this isn't one of those movies. And at first, it kind of is all well, it feels tongue in cheek, but it comes again at the end or towards the end, at the end of the second act, and it actually comes full circle. And I thought that was actually a very powerful writing and very powerfully directed scene, and it added a twist that I was not seeing, and I thought the movie was stronger because of it.
Absolutely. There's also a quick thing in here about like where Samuel L. Jackson is like writing, analog pen and paper, and he says, "I like writing in here because you can't hack into this."
Yeah, I really liked that.
And then he's using technology, and of course there's an analog about we're zombies and like we can get mind control through our phones because that's all we do nowadays. There's stuff there that I really like. But at the same time, he kind of juxtaposed that sort of like stuff that we've been talking about, whether it's like the two characters discussing about the meta commentary, but then at the same time, it just has like this wild, zany, crazy hyper violence that was a lot of fun. We were in a packed theater for this one.
Oh my goodness, yes. Packed
And
wall to wall, front to back.
everyone was digging this thing.
Exactly.
And
I also,
I know
sorry,
there's
go
been
on.
some sort of like controversy on how the movie ends, but I know like everyone was laughing at the end.
Yeah, I also think, this movie. I heard, I saw in like some reviews. Oh, it might offend people. I'm like, are you kidding me? How is this gonna offend? Oh, it's a Mark Millar hyperviolence thing. No, there's a particular scene like before the end of the second act where I had my jaw drop and thinking, this is so bad, but it is so entertaining, and it's quite. I thought that scene was in a way kind of brilliant. Uh, do you want to issue up a spoiler warning really quickly?
Sure. Well, I'll give 5 minutes. Or how many minutes do you want?
I had just a couple.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
And your 2 minutes start right now.
All right. So there's a tussle where after they find out the whole phones are gonna make everyone want to kill everybody. This is for people that have seen the movie. There's there's this big brawl out in this Bible Belt, extremely homophobic, racist, non-Christian Christian church, and it was and I don't mean to get like super religious here. I would say I'm a person of faith, and so I found this like kind of was like, oh, they're kind of making fun of those people, and they're all like, the Bible says this and the Bible says that and this that, and yet once the things go off, they all pull out guns and weapons. I'm like, oh, yikes, that's a really sharp jab at the people that are like, oh, well, the Bible says this and that. Yeah, well, it also says don't kill, so why are you carrying all these really lethal weapons on your side? I thought that was actually really, really funny. The thing is, it doesn't just attack the conservative Christian Baptist people. As you talk about in the scene, there's that scene towards the end where early on we see the bad guy collaborating with Obama, and at the end we see Obama's head blow up. Of course, it's the back of his head,
And
but
his
I
entire
think
cabinet.
and his entire cabinet, the entire Obama administration. I thought that the movie it lent itself to almost like an Always Sunny sort of thing where no one's safe. They're making fun of everybody left and right.
And also
I,
one
I
thing about
really
the what
no, I was done. Go on.
we have like 15 seconds left of the spoiler warning, but like that they really make sure it's a hate church, like WASP kind of the thing, or
Yeah.
anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic, and probably sexist. All right, we're done. We're done.
All right. So spoilers over.
Okay.
But yeah, I really dug this. The acting's great. That kid who plays Eggsy, he's incredible. I really want to see what he does next.
Yeah, and I also like the henchwoman where she has like the sword legs,
So Bondy.
and like I was expecting but like the character has personality. She's like fun to watch.
Yeah. So let's get into some negatives really quickly for the movie. I
I, I
think,
only have I only have one thing I don't like.
and that is,
I feel that like the climax goes on for too long.
yeah, I feel it gets dragged out towards the end.
There's like a sequence towards the end, and I'm like, oh, I guess this is the climax, and then like that sequence ends, and then oh no, a twist happens, and then it's not over yet, and then at that point it kind of goes a little too long. I'm like, okay, can we get this over? And there's like this big fight going over here, then there's another big fight going over here, and then I'm like, okay, this feels too prolonged. Hurry this up, and it kind of went on and on and on, and then I liked the way the whole thing ended, but like it just went on a little too long for my taste.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think it's like a fight scene, couple fight scenes too long. And at that point, it's like, okay, we get it, get on with it. But it still does try to entertain you, and it doesn't feel cynical about it at all.
No.
But that's all I have to say about Kingsman: The Secret Service. What about you?
I think I have. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta say one more thing.
Yeah, what's that?
The movie loves dogs, and so naturally I'm gonna
Oh
sort of love
yes,
this
how
movie.
could we forget?
The sequence with the dog. Anytime the dogs are around, I was loving this movie. Like pure unabashed. I'm loving this right now. The whole like and it's so I maybe it's just because I love dogs like a lot, and then the whole stuff where he gets a pug. All that stuff was great, and that was my favorite part of the movie actually. Like I love
Can I,
that stuff.
okay, can I issue like a spoiler, like 15-second spoiler warning?
Okay, go.
Okay, so here we go. So the whole thing with the dog is there's actually great foreshadow there because when he's training the dog, he's like, "You better follow me." The dog's scared, doesn't want to move. "You better come here. I'm gonna blow your brains out." And then he picks up the dog. Then at the end, there's like this test where he has to shoot his own dog. I'm like, that's actually really good foreshadowing. There's a dramatic weight, but there's also some comedy to it as well. It mixes so much different emotions together, and I like that. Okay,
Done. Okay. I'm giving Kingsman: The Secret Service an 8 out of 10.
I will be giving it an 8 out of 10 as well. Really, really fun movie. Check it out. Don't. don't waste your money on 50 Shades of Grey. This has everything that 50 Shades does not have, which is just about
Right.
everything.
All right, and that's all we have to talk about today. Tune in tomorrow, where we're going to be talking about the Will Smith Margot Robbie Khan movie, Focus,
And
and
also, and
we have a little bit of we have a surprise.
yes, we have a surprise, and then we also
We have
have the Lazarus Effect.
Yes, we have the horror movie, the sci-fi horror movie starring Mark Duplass, Olivia Wilde, Donald Glover, and Evan Peters. I think those are all the people. And yes, so we got uh, drama thriller con man movie, Caper, and then we got a horror movie. Second horror movie of the year. Hopefully, it's better than The Woman in Black 2.
Oh, hopefully it is.
All right, and a surprise.
And a surprise.
All right, so that's all I have to say for today.
And same here. This is Spencer Nielsen signing off.